Hello, my name is Dorothy Rosen. I'm a goldsmith in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And today I wanted to share with you a couple of methods of how to determine your bangle size. So a bangle, of course, is a thing that's solid and round, like this, and has a predetermined size as opposed to a bracelet that would be a fluid thing with a closure. So for this to determine your size, and I will admit it's not easy, but it's important nowadays where we all order things online. You want to be able to get as close as possible. So the first thing to learn about this is that the size of a bangle that you're going to choose is not dependent upon your wrist size. I, for example, have quite a narrow wrist, but I have quite a wide hand. This is partially due to the fact that I work with my hands, and so I use them a lot. So how to determine your bangle size? I will show you today two different methods. And I want to say hi to Jan, who is a colleague over the other end of the continent. Hi, Jan. Nice to see you, Jan Smith. So how to determine the bangle size? It depends on the width of your wrist, of your hand, not your wrist. And of course, a bangle will have to fit through this. That's where it has to fit around. So the way to measure it is by putting your hands like this, but not real tight and stiff, because it'll change the shape, the width. You need to be very relaxed with your hand when you do this. And I will say that this is much easier done if you have a friend helping you, and you will see in a second why. So for this first method, what you will need is a strip of paper, or mine is a little bit of a thicker paper, and a ruler, straight edge ruler. You could use a marker. If you have a friend, use a marker, go ahead. I will just use my fingernail to mark. So in order to determine this width, we need to go the widest size. And again, this is where it gets a little tricky to do this by yourself. So the widest part of your hand, and where they overlap is a little tricky to show. If you squeeze it a little, I have to show it and show you at the same time, so it's tricky. I'm going to make a little marker with my fingernail, and that's actually enough for me to see. And then you take that measurement and hold it up against your ruler. So I'm going to line this up, and this is measuring to be about 8, and I know it was the wider side, so 8 1/4 inches, or it's always more precise in millimeters because they are, smaller measurements. So in millimeters, this is just under, I don't know if the numbers are reversed for you. This is about 21, maybe just a little less. It might be, it might be a little less. So that's one way to measure it. And actually, because this is about 8 1/2 inches, there is another trick I can tell you, which is if you slice, so this piece of paper, we're in North America here, this piece of paper, they're both cut from an 8 1/2 by 11 sheet. And of course, this is the long end of the sheet of paper, and this is the short end of the piece of paper. So the short end of the piece of paper happens to be 8 1/2, because the letter size, sheet of paper is 8 1/2 by 11. 8 1/2 is gonna be on the larger side of your, it's not quite large, but it's slightly above medium. So if you take your letter size edge, the shorter one, you can just do that and see if it's hard to show, but mine overlaps just a little bit, so I know it's just a little less than 8 1/2 inches in my case. So that's one way to do it. A strip of paper, wrist, ideally a friend who can help you navigate this, and a ruler. There's another cool little one that I discovered recently, which is actually easier. It involves also a ruler and some way of marking. You can use a Sharpie, you can also just use a ballpoint pen or something. And what you're going to do for this one, this is really curious. You're going to look at your hand, you're going to make a fist. I'm going to try to do this upside down. And you're going to mark the center of your little knuckle and the center of your, it's actually a little bit over, the center of your pointer. This one. And this is why you have to make a fist, because otherwise it disappears. You're going to mark these two. This is so cool when I figured this one out. And then you're going to really ideally lay your hand flat on the table. You're going to now measure this distance between the two. And that, you're going to go from, again, this is really hard to show, but if you're flat, it's about 2.5 inches, I want to say. And you can do the same in millimeters. I'm getting complicated here, upside down. Anyways, you get the idea. You measure that length, and what that length will be is the diameter of the bangle you're looking for. Wrong side. Everything is backwards. So the diameter, of course, is the widest part of your bangle, and that that distance from here to here equals the diameter of the ideal bangle for you. How cool is that? That's so much easier in a way. So I thought that was really neat. I do have information on my website under the FAQ, the basic FAQs about that. But I'll tell you the basics, and I will have to look at my sheet here to because I have not memorized these. So if your diameter is, well, if the circumference is 190 millimeters, so 1.9 centimeters, or 7.5 inches, that's approximately, oh, this is so complicated, a 60 millimeter, a 6 centimeter diameter. If you're, so that's a small bangle. And then if your circumference measured like this would be about 8.25 inches, that's a medium, equaling 67 millimeters diameter. And if your circumference is 8 5/8 inches, and again, all these numbers on, maybe I'll put them at the bottom of this, then then it equals a diameter of 70 millimeters or 7 centimeters. So I thought that was really, really cool. And then I wanted to show you one little hack, which I learned through my on my pilgrimage through India. When I was in India, I was there twice for a month each, and I bought one of these really amazing gold bangles. Actually, I bought a set of 4. You can only buy them in sets, because you're supposed to wear them equally on both hands. So, I learned how do they put them on, because this is clearly much smaller than this guy. Can you see that? Much smaller. And it looks like this is a medium bangle. This fits on. It's actually just a touch loose, because this is for 2.5 inch, and mine is a little bit smaller, as we determined. Medium is 2 5/8. This is a medium, so medium is a little large for me. This clearly doesn't want to go over. Like, you'd think there's no way. But, and I don't know if this will still work because I haven't actually tried to put these on. You can trick life by using an old stocking like this one. That's clearly no longer usable for wearing. And what that does, it makes it really slidey. You can also use a plastic bag in olive oil, but I find that kind of gross. And then you can wiggle in there. Look at that. Because it's slidey. and then you take the stocking through. This is of course a long one. If you have just a stocking, it makes it easier. You can take that through and come out the other end, and your bangle will be on. So if you have a bangle that's too small, you can certainly try that. Ta-da! Nice, eh? I'm on my way to the gym, which you might see by my outfit. So that's not gonna work for me. I'm gonna have to take it back off. But I did want to share that because I think it's so cool. So I think that's it. I mean, I'm a firm believer in making bangles and rings and all kinds of things in all types of sizes. So this is actually a copper one. These are my 1 meter bangles, by the way. They start out as a 1 meter length, and they are a little less easy to measure because they have 5 loops around. So each one is slightly different. When you do put them on, please always grab all of them at once so that you don't spread it out, especially when you take it off. Because once you spread it out, very difficult to get it to come back together. But yeah, so this is the right size for me, or this copper one. I'm quite fond of the copper. But I do also make them much larger. This is like clearly way too big for me. Or teeny tiny. All sizes. People come in different sizes. So, make them in different sizes. That's it. That's what I wanted to share with you today. And I hope you're gonna have a really great day. And I will talk to you maybe next week, although I'll be, maybe next week. Okay, take care. Bye.